The massive alien ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. They were enormous, each one the size of a small city. There were hundreds of them, blocking out the stars with their dark metal hulls. The ships did not come in peace. Hyun-Woo stood in the main hall of the United Earth Council in Geneva, watching the transmission on the giant screens. He was Earth's chief diplomat, a man who had spent 30 years learning how to talk to difficult people. But he had never talked to aliens before. Nobody on Earth had. The alien on the screen was tall and covered in dark purple scales. Its eyes glowed red, and when it spoke, a computer translated its words into every human language at once. The message was simple and terrifying. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am the High Commander of the Galactic Dominion. For 3,000 years, we have ruled this part of the galaxy. We have brought order to 847 worlds. Now it is your turn. You have broken our laws. You have expanded into space without our permission. You have built weapons that are forbidden. You have refused to bow to our authority. We give you 72 hours to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy your world completely. Every city, every person, everything. You have no choice. Surrender or die." The transmission ended. The room fell silent. Hyun-Woo looked around at the other leaders of Earth. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. A few looked like they wanted to cry. But Hyun-Woo just smiled. "Why are you smiling?" asked Dae-Ho, the Secretary of Defense. He was a big man with gray hair and a serious face. "Did you not hear what they said? They're going to kill us all." Hyun-Woo's smile grew wider. "Oh, I heard them perfectly. Send a response. I want every screen on Earth and in space to show my face. I want the aliens to see it too." 5 minutes later, Hyun-Woo's face appeared on every device across the planet. People stopped working. They stopped eating. They stopped everything to watch. The alien ships received the transmission too. Hyun-Woo stood straight, his hands behind his back, and he smiled. He did not say a single word. He just smiled for 10 seconds. Then the broadcast ended. On the Dominion command ship, the High Commander stared at the screen in confusion. What was that? Why did the human smile? Is this some kind of threat? His officers did not know how to answer. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever responded like this. They had seen fear. They had seen anger. They had seen desperate attempts and negotiation, but never just a smile. Back on Earth, Hyun-Woo walked into a secret meeting room deep underground. Hae-Won was already there. She was the Fleet Admiral, the commander of all Earth's military forces. She was small but fierce, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Did you activate it?" Hyun-Woo asked. "Protocol Nightfall is active," Hae-Won confirmed. "Every installation is powering up. Every ship is moving into position. Every weapon is ready." "Good," Hyun-Woo said. "How long have we been preparing for this?" 50 years, Hae-Won answered. "Ever since we found the ruins on Mars." Tae-Min entered the room. He was the director of intelligence, a quiet man who knew more secrets than anyone else on Earth. "The Dominion is confused," he reported. "They're analyzing our response. They think we're either insane or we have something they don't know about." "They're half right," Hyun-Woo said. "We're not insane, but we definitely have something they don't know about." "How is Yuna doing?" "She's ready," Tae-Min answered. "The Quantum Research Institute has completed all final tests. Everything works perfectly." Hyun-Woo nodded. He walked to a large window that showed a digital map of the solar system. Red dots marked the alien ships, but there were also thousands of blue dots scattered throughout the system. Most people did not know what those blue dots were. They were about to find out 50 years ago, human astronauts had gone to Mars to build the first colony. They found something unexpected buried under the red sand. Ancient ruins. A city that had been dead for millions of years. And in that city, they found technology beyond anything humans had ever imagined. They also found a warning written in mathematical symbols that any intelligent species could understand. The message said, "The Dominion will come. They always come. They will demand surrender. Do not give it to them. We did, and now we are extinct. Be stronger than we were. Be ready." Earth's governments made a choice that day. They decided to prepare in secret. They told the public that Mars had nothing but rocks and dust. But underground, thousands of scientists worked day and night to understand the ancient technology. They learned how to bend reality. They learned how to build weapons that could destroy stars. They learned how to hide entire fleets of ships inside folded space. And they waited. Una sat in her laboratory, watching screens filled with numbers and equations. She was the lead scientist who had unlocked the secrets of the ancient technology. She was only 30 years old, but she understood things that would take other scientists' lifetimes to learn. "All systems are green," she reported to her team. "The reality shields are charged. The causality disruptors are online. The quantum drives are ready. When they attack, they're going to be very surprised." Her assistant asked, "Are you scared?" Una thought about it. "Yes," she admitted. "I'm terrified. But I'm also excited. We're about to show the galaxy that Earth is not like other worlds. We don't surrender. We don't give up. We smile, and we fight back." Across Earth, people watched the news. They saw the alien ships waiting at the edge of the system. They heard experts talking about the end of the world. But something strange happened. People did not panic. They did not run screaming through the streets. Instead, they started preparing parties. In Seoul, people hung decorations in the streets. In New York, people cooked huge meals. In Cairo, people sang songs. It made no sense to the few who understood what was really happening. But Haiyan Wu had ordered a message sent to every citizen's device. It said simply, "Trust us. We are ready." They are not. The 72 hours began to count down. The Dominion watched and waited, growing more confused with each passing hour. Earth was supposed to be afraid. Earth was supposed to be begging for mercy. But Earth just smiled and threw parties. On the command ship, the High Commander made a decision. They are primitives who do not understand their situation. We will teach them. Begin invasion preparations. In 24 hours, we will show them what happens when you refuse the Dominion. His officers cheered. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. One more would be easy. Earth had old rockets and simple weapons. The Dominion had planet destroyers and reality bombs. This would be over quickly. But deep in space, hiding behind Jupiter's massive storms, something waited. Something huge. Something powerful. Something that Earth had built in secret for 50 years. And on Earth, Haiyan Wu smiled again. The Dominion command ship called Eternal Conquest floated at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark moon. Inside its massive war room, dozens of alien officers studied screens and holograms. They were reviewing Earth's military capabilities, and what they saw made them laugh. "Look at this," one officer said, pointing at a hologram of an Earth battleship. "They still use kinetic weapons. Bullets and missiles. We stopped using those 2,000 years ago." Another officer nodded. "Their ships move using simple fusion drives. We could outrun them while sleeping. And look, they have no energy shields at all. One shot from our plasma cannons would cut through their hull like paper." The High Commander stood in the center of the room, his red eyes glowing brighter as he listened. "What is their largest military force?" he asked. Approximately 300 ships, an officer reported. Most are small frigates and destroyers. They have 12 capital ships, but by our standards, they are ancient and weak. Our battle computers calculate a 99.7% chance of total victory within 48 hours of engagement. And their planetary defenses? Minimal, Commander. Some missile batteries on their moon. A few orbital stations with outdated weapons. Nothing that can stop our bombardment platforms. We could glass their entire planet in 3 hours if we wanted. The High Commander nodded slowly. Then why did their diplomat smile at us? Why are their people having celebrations instead of preparing for death? The room fell quiet. Nobody had a good answer. Perhaps they are simply insane, one officer suggested. Some primitive species have strange psychological reactions to stress. They may be in denial about their situation. Or, another officer said carefully, perhaps they know something we do not. The High Commander turned to face him. Impossible. We have scanned their entire system. We have intercepted all their communications. We have analyzed their technology. There are no surprises. They are primitives playing with toys, thinking they can challenge the Dominion. We will crush them. But the commander's confidence was not as solid as his words. Something felt wrong. In 3,000 years, no species had ever reacted like this. Fear was natural. Anger was expected. Even foolish bravery was common. But that smile, that calm, knowing smile, it disturbed him in ways he could not explain. What the commander did not know was that someone in his own fleet was betraying him. Ki Wu had lived among the Dominion for 20 years. He looked like them, thanks to genetic modifications and surgery. He spoke like them. He acted like them. But he was human, and he had never forgotten his home. Ki Wu worked as a communications officer on the Eternal Conquest. His position gave him access to all battle plans and strategic discussions. Every night, he used a quantum transmitter hidden inside his body to send information back to Earth. The Dominion had never found it, because they did not know such technology existed. Tonight, Ki Wu transmitted the complete invasion plan, fleet positions, weapon specifications, attack vectors, everything. On Earth, Taemin received the data and smiled. It was exactly what Hay-1 needed. Meanwhile, Nari piloted her stealth ship through the darkness of space. Her vessel was small, no bigger than a house, but it was covered in technology that made it almost invisible. The Dominion scanners passed over her ship without seeing it. She floated just a few kilometers from their fleet, watching and recording. "Command, this is Shadow One," Nari spoke into her communicator. "I count 500 battle cruisers, 200 destroyers, 50 orbital bombardment platforms, and at least 30 ships carrying biological weapons. They're organizing into attack formations. They plan to hit us from multiple angles simultaneously." "Received, Shadow One," came Hay-1's voice. "Stay hidden. We'll need your eyes during the battle." "Understood, Admiral." Shadow One out. Nari leaned back in her chair and ate a sandwich. She had been watching the Dominion fleet for 6 hours straight. It was boring work, but critical. She looked at the massive alien ships through her viewport and thought about how confident they seemed. They had no idea what was coming. Back on Earth, Dae-Ho was giving a briefing to the Planetary Defense Council. He stood before a 3-dimensional map of the solar system that floated in the middle of the room. "As you can see," he said, pointing to various locations, "we have installations here on Luna, here on Mars, here on the asteroid belt, and here on every major moon of Jupiter and Saturn. What the Dominion does not know is that we have been converting every rock in this system into a weapon platform." One council member looked confused. "Every rock?" "Every rock. Daiho confirmed. Over the past 50 years, we have placed automated defense systems on thousands of asteroids and small moons. Each one is hidden under layers of ice and stone. The Dominion scanners see only natural objects. But when we activate them, this entire solar system becomes a trap. Another council member asked, "But can we really defeat them?" "They have conquered hundreds of worlds." Daiho smiled the same smile that Haiyan Wu had shown the aliens. "They conquered worlds that had nothing like what we have. We found the ruins on Mars. We learned from a civilization that fought the Dominion's ancestors millions of years ago. And unlike that civilization, we will not surrender." The council members nodded, feeling their confidence grow. They had been told pieces of the truth over the years, but now they understood the full picture. Earth was not helpless. Earth was a loaded gun pointed at the galaxy's greatest empire. On the moon, Jisoo prepared her team for battle. She was the commander of the Luna Defense Grid, a network of weapons hidden beneath the lunar surface. Her control room was buried 3 kilometers underground, protected by armor that could withstand direct hits from nuclear weapons. "All crews to stations," she ordered. "Power up all systems, but keep them below detection threshold. I want every cannon charged and every missile ready, but they should not know we exist until we start shooting." Her officers moved quickly and efficiently. They had trained for this moment for years. Some of them had been born on the moon and had never even visited Earth. But they would defend humanity's homeworld with their lives. "Commander," one officer reported, "I'm picking up Dominion communications. They're laughing at us. They think this will be easy." Jisoo smiled coldly. "Let them laugh. In a few hours, they'll be screaming instead." High above Earth, astronauts worked on what looked like ordinary satellites and space stations. But these were not ordinary. Each one contained weapons that could tear through the fabric of reality itself. Each one could generate shields that would make nuclear explosions feel like gentle breezes. The technology came from the Mars ruins, and humanity had improved it. The Dominion continued their preparations, completely unaware. They moved their ships into position. They charged their weapons. They prepared boarding parties to take control of Earth's cities after the orbital bombardment. They discussed how to divide Earth's resources among the victorious fleet commanders. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, the High Commander reviewed the final attack plan. "We will begin in 24 hours, he announced. "First, we will destroy their lunar base. Second, we will eliminate their orbital stations. Third, we will bombard their major cities. Fourth, we will land troops to take control of any survivors. This will be quick and clean." His officers cheered again. They were so confident, so certain. Ki-Wu stood in the back of the bridge, watching and listening. He sent one final transmission to Earth. "They attack in 24 hours. They have learned nothing. They suspect nothing. They will die surprised." On Earth, people continued their strange celebrations. Music played in the streets. Families gathered for meals. Children played games. The news showed images of the alien fleet, but nobody seemed afraid. Reporters were confused. Psychiatrists were baffled. How could an entire planet face annihilation with such calm? But Haiyan Wu knew. Every human on Earth had received the same message on their personal devices. It was encrypted and hidden, visible only to human eyes. It said, "We have prepared for 50 years. We have weapons they cannot imagine. We have allies they do not know about. We have turned our entire solar system into a fortress. When they attack, they will learn why humanity survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We do not surrender. We smile, and we win." The countdown continued. 24 hours until the Dominion's attack. 24 hours until they learned the truth. The Dominion fleet moved forward like a dark wave of death. 500 massive warships activated their engines and began the final approach to Mars. The High Commander stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, watching his fleet advance. This was the moment he had planned for. This was the beginning of Earth's end. All ships, he commanded, assume attack formation. Target their lunar base first. Once it is destroyed, we will turn our weapons on their planet. Across the fleet, weapons charged. Massive cannons that could crack moons hummed with power. Missiles that carried enough explosive force to destroy cities loaded into their tubes. Energy weapons that could boil oceans glowed with barely contained fury. On Earth, HFY watched the same scene from her command center buried deep beneath Geneva. Her officers sat at their stations, fingers hovering over controls, waiting for her order. The room was silent, except for the soft beeping of computers. "Admiral," one officer said quietly, "they're in range. We can fire at any moment." "Not yet," HFY said calmly. "Let them commit. Let them show us everything they have. I want them fully engaged before we reveal ourselves." The Dominion fleet reached Mars orbit. The High Commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Fire at will," he ordered. "Show these primitives the power of the Dominion." 10 enormous battlecruisers unleashed their main weapons. Beams of purple energy, each one containing enough power to vaporize mountains, shot across space toward Earth. The beams moved at nearly the speed of light. In seconds, they would hit Earth's atmosphere and begin burning through to the surface below. Millions would die in the first strike, but the beams never reached Earth. HFY pressed a button. "Activate defense grid. Show them what we built." Across Earth's orbit, thousands of satellites suddenly came to life. They had looked like ordinary communications and weather satellites. But now they revealed their true nature. Each one generated a field of shimmering energy. The fields connected, forming a massive shield that wrapped around the entire planet. The Dominion's weapons hit the shield and simply stopped. The energy that should have destroyed cities dissipated harmlessly, absorbed by technology that bent the laws of physics themselves. The beams flickered and died like candles in the wind. On the Eternal Conquest, alarms began screaming. Officers shouted in confusion. The High Commander's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible," he roared. "They have no shield technology." "Our intelligence was certain." "Commander," an officer yelled, "I'm detecting massive power surges throughout their system. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid is lighting up." "What do you mean, lighting up?" Before the officer could answer, the moon opened fire. Jisoo sat in her command center 3 kilometers beneath the lunar surface and smiled as she gave the order. "All batteries fire." The gray surface of the moon erupted. Hatches that had been invisible for 50 years slid open. Hundreds of massive cannons rose from beneath the dust and rock. They had been waiting, hidden, prepared. Now they unleashed Hell-Dot. The cannons fired beams of white energy that made the Dominion's weapons look weak. These beams did not just carry energy. They carried weaponized reality itself, technology taken from the Mars ruins and perfected by human scientists. When the beams hit Dominion ships, the ships did not just explode. They ceased to exist. One moment they were there. The next moment there was only empty space docked in 10 seconds. The moon destroyed 50 Dominion battle cruisers. "Return fire." The High Commander screamed. "Destroy their moon." The Dominion fleet turned their weapons on the moon and fired everything T. Hay had. Hundreds of energy beams and thousands of missiles streaked through space. But before they could hit, another shield appeared, this one surrounding the moon. The Dominion's weapons splashed against it uselessly. "Commander!" Another officer shouted. "Mars is firing. So are the asteroids. So is everything." The High Commander looked at his tactical display and felt true fear for the first time in his long life. The display showed the entire solar system, and every single object in it was now marked as a weapon platform. Mars, the asteroid belt, Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, even tiny rocks floating in the darkness. All of them were firing. The Dominion fleet was surrounded. Sung-Min sat in the cockpit of his fighter, waiting in the darkness behind Jupiter. He was not alone. Around him, 99 other fighters waited, their pilots breathing slowly, staying calm. They had trained for years for this moment. "Squadron leaders," came Haywon's voice over the radio, "you are cleared to engage. Show them what human pilots can do." Sung-Min grinned and pushed his throttle forward. His fighter leaped out from behind Jupiter, accelerating at impossible speeds. The fighter was small, no bigger than a bus, but it moved like nothing the Dominion had ever seen. It did not simply fly through space. It bent space around itself, jumping from point to point without crossing the distance in between. One moment Sung-Min was by Jupiter. The next moment he was in the middle of the Dominion fleet. His fighter's weapons were not bullets or missiles. They were causality disruptors, weapons that made cause and effect happen in reverse. When he fired at a Dominion ship, the ship exploded before the weapon actually hit it. The other 99 fighters followed. They moved through the Dominion fleet like sharks through a school of fish. The alien ships tried to shoot them down, but the fighters were impossible to hit. They moved in ways that violated every law of physics the Dominion knew in 5 minutes. The human fighters destroyed 100 more Dominion ships. Nari watched from her hidden observation post and laughed with pure joy. "That's it, Sung-Min. Show them what you've got." The Dominion fleet was in chaos. Ships collided with each other, trying to avoid the fighters. Commanders screamed orders that nobody could follow. The perfect formation had become a panicked mess. "Retreat," someone shouted on the Dominion command channel. "We need to retreat." But the High Commander would not hear it. He had conquered 847 worlds. He would not be defeated by primitives. No retreat. He commanded, "All ships forward. Crush them with our numbers." The Dominion fleet pushed forward, trying to break through to Earth. But now the entire solar system fought back. Every asteroid fired. Every moon became a fortress. Every planet was a weapon, and then Earth itself revealed its secret. Una sat in her laboratory and activated the system she had spent 20 years building. "Quantum distortion field online," she reported. "Reality anchors stable. Activating now." Around Earth, space itself began to twist and ripple. And from that twisted space, ships began to emerge. Not small fighters, not medium cruisers, but massive dreadnoughts, each one the size of a Dominion battlecruiser, each one bristling with weapons that should not exist. There were 1,000 of them. The Dominion fleet froze. The High Commander stared at the display in absolute horror. Where did those ships come from? He whispered. "They were hidden in folded space," an officer reported, his voice shaking. "They built them in secret. All of them. 1,000 capital ships. They've been there the whole time, and we never saw them." The human dreadnoughts did not immediately fire. They simply took up positions around the solar system, forming an impenetrable wall. Their message was clear. Nobody was leaving. Hyun-Woo's face appeared on every screen in the Dominion fleet. He was still smiling, but now his smile was different. It was the smile of someone who had won a game before it even started. "High Commander," Hyun-Woo said pleasantly, "I hope you enjoyed your surprise. You came to conquer Earth. You thought we were primitives with toys. You were wrong. We found the ruins on Mars 50 years ago. We learned from a civilization that fought your ancestors. We learned that the only way to survive meeting the Dominion was to be ready. So we prepared. For 50 years, we turned every rock in our system into a weapon. We built a fleet in secret. We created technology that makes your weapons look ancient. And now you are trapped. The High Commander tried to speak, but no words came out. You have a choice, High Unwu continued. You can surrender, and we will treat you fairly. Or you can keep fighting, and we will destroy you. Choose now. The Dominion fleet hung in space, surrounded by Earth's defenses. They had come to conquer. Instead, they had walked into a trap. And deep in space, on 30 different worlds that the Dominion had enslaved, people watched the broadcast and began to hope. If Earth could defeat the Dominion, maybe they could too. The smile had been a warning. The Dominion had just been too arrogant to understand it. The High Commander stared at High Unwu's face on the screen. His mind struggled to understand what had happened. How had Earth hidden all this? How had they built such weapons without the Dominion knowing? It was impossible. It should have been impossible. You are bluffing, the High Commander finally said, though his voice shook. You cannot have that much power. You are primitives who discovered some ancient technology, but you cannot understand it. You cannot use it properly. High Unwu's smile did not change. Would you like a demonstration? I can have Admiral Hay-1 destroy another 50 of your ships. Or perhaps 100. We have power to spare. The High Commander cut the transmission. He turned to his officers. Status report. How many ships have we lost? An officer checked his screen, his hands trembling. 200 battlecruisers destroyed, Commander. 100 heavily damaged. We have lost nearly half our fleet in less than 30 minutes. 30 minutes, the High Commander repeated. His entire military career, he had never lost a battle. Never. The Dominion was invincible. That was what he had always believed. But now he understood the truth. The Dominion had been lucky. They had conquered 847 worlds because none of those worlds had been ready. None of them had found ancient weapons. None of them had 50 years to prepare. Earth had. On Earth, Tae-min walked into a press conference. Reporters from every nation crowded the room, shouting questions. They wanted to know how Earth had hidden such massive preparations. They wanted to know why the government had lied about Mars, having nothing but rocks. Tae-min raised his hand for silence. When the room quieted, he began to speak. 50 years ago, he said, we discovered ruins on Mars. Ancient ruins from a civilization that existed millions of years before humans even evolved. In those ruins, we found technology beyond anything we imagined. But we also found a warning. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the stage. It showed symbols, mathematical equations that any intelligent species could read. Tae-min translated them. The warning said, the Dominion will come. They always come to every world that reaches space. They will demand surrender. Do not give it to them. We did, and now our species is extinct. Our worlds are empty. Our children are gone. We surrendered because we were not ready to fight. Learn from our mistake. Be ready. Be strong. Be ruthless. The Dominion respects only power. The reporters sat in stunned silence. Tae-min continued. We made a choice that day. We decided to prepare in secret. We told the public that Mars was empty because we needed time. Time to study the technology. Time to build weapons. Time to turn our entire solar system into a fortress. We are sorry we lied. But that lie saved humanity. One reporter stood up. But how did you build 1,000 warships without anyone noticing? Tae-min smiled. We built them in folded space. The ancient technology allowed us to create bubbles of space-time that existed outside normal reality. Inside those bubbles, time moved faster. We could build for years, while only days passed in normal space. Every resource we mined from asteroids, every scientist we recruited, every engineer who worked on the project, they all believed they were building our salvation. And they were right. Another reporter asked, "What about the other alien races? Did you contact them?" "Yes," Taemin admitted. "For 30 years, we have been secretly communicating with enslaved species across the galaxy. The Dominion controls them through fear, but fear only works until someone shows that the Dominion can be beaten. Today, we showed the galaxy that the Dominion is not invincible." While Taemin spoke to reporters, Yuna was giving her own explanation to a room full of scientists. They wanted to understand the technology Earth had used. The Mars civilization called themselves the Ancients, Yuna explained. They were incredibly advanced. They could manipulate reality itself. When the Dominion came to their worlds, the Ancients tried to negotiate. They tried to find peace. But the Dominion only understands force. By the time the Ancients realized this, it was too late. The Dominion destroyed them world by world. She showed diagrams of the quantum technology Earth had developed. The Ancients left blueprints for weapons that could stop the Dominion. Reality shields that can absorb any energy weapon. Causality disruptors that make cause and effect happen backward. Quantum drives that let ships move faster than light without entering hyperspace. We took their blueprints and improved them. Human engineering combined with ink. Int science created something neither could achieve alone. A scientist raised his hand. But why did we keep this secret, even from most of Earth's population? Because, Yuna said sadly, the Dominion has spies everywhere. If we had announced our preparations, the Dominion would have attacked before we were ready. The only way to surprise them was to make them think we were weak. Make them overconfident. Make them commit their forces to what they thought would be an easy battle. Then destroy them. Back in space, the battle had paused. The Dominion fleet floated in the middle of Earth's defenses, surrounded and outgunned. But they had not surrendered. Pride prevented them. 3,000 years of conquest could not end like this. Key dash. Wu knew what the High Commander was thinking. He had lived among the Dominion long enough to understand their psychology. They would rather die than admit defeat. So Ki Wu decided to help them make the right choice. He walked onto the bridge of the Eternal, Conquest carrying a small device hidden in his hand. None of the alien officers noticed him. He was just another communications worker, forgettable, invisible. He walked to the main computer terminal and plugged in his device. Instantly, every screen on the bridge changed. Instead of showing tactical displays, they showed images. Images of other Dominion fleets. Other conquered worlds. But in these images, the conquered peoples were rising up. They were fighting back. Space stations were exploding. Dominion governors were being overthrown. The Empire was fracturing. What is this? The High Commander demanded. What is happening? Ki Wu removed his disguise. His scaled skin peeled away to reveal a human face underneath. The officers gasped and reached for their weapons, but Ki Wu was faster. He pressed another button, and every weapon on the bridge locked. "My name is Ki Wu," he said in perfect Dominion language. "I have been your communications officer for 20 years. But I am human. I have been sending information to Earth this entire time. And I have also been sending information to every enslaved world in the galaxy." The High Commander's eyes blazed with fury. "You dare." "I dare," Ki Wu interrupted, "because Earth is not fighting alone anymore. Right now, 30 worlds are rebelling against Dominion rule. They watched Earth defeat you. They saw that the Dominion can bleed, can lose, can die, and they decided that if humans can be free, so can they." He walked closer to the High Commander. "You came to conquer Earth. Instead, you have lost your empire. Every world you enslaved is watching this battle. They see you trapped and helpless. They see humans defeating the Great Dominion, and they have stopped being afraid. The High Commander lunged at Ki Wu, but energy barriers appeared, holding him back. Ki Wu had activated ancient technology built into his own body. You have two choices, Ki Wu said. Surrender and live, or fight and die. Choose now, because Admiral Hay 1 is running out of patience. As if on cue, Hay 1's voice came over all communication channels. This is Admiral Hay 1 of Earth Defense Force. You have 5 minutes to lower your shields and power down your weapons. If you do not comply, we will destroy your fleet completely. This is your only warning. On worlds across the galaxy, enslaved peoples watched and waited. Would the Dominion surrender? Would the empire that had ruled for 3,000 years finally fall? In the command center on Earth, Haiyan Wu watched the same scene. He did not smile anymore. This moment was too important for smiling. This was the moment when everything changed. When the galaxy learned that tyranny could be defeated. When hope returned to billions of enslaved beings. The High Commander looked around his bridge. He saw his officers staring at him, waiting for orders. He saw Ki Wu standing calmly, no fear in his eyes. He saw the tactical display, showing how thoroughly trapped his fleet was. For 3,000 years, the Dominion had conquered. Now, for the first time, they faced a species that was stronger. Not just in weapons, but in spirit. Earth had prepared while the Dominion had grown lazy. Earth had united while the Dominion had relied on fear. Earth had hoped while the Dominion had only known arrogance. The High Commander realized something that no Dominion leader had ever admitted before. They had been wrong. About everything. He reached for his communicator. His hand shook as he spoke the words that would end an empire. This is the High Commander of the Dominion Fleet. We ... Surrender. 3 months after the battle, Haiyan Wu stood in what used to be the Dominion's Grand Council Chamber. The building was enormous, carved from a single piece of black stone on a planet called Dominion Prime. For 3,000 years, emperors had sat here and commanded their fleets to conquer new worlds. Now the building served a different purpose. Today, it would host the first meeting of the Free Worlds Coalition. Representatives from 43 different species filled the chamber. Some walked on legs. Others floated. Some breathed oxygen, while others needed different gases. But they all shared one thing. They had been slaves of the Dominion, and now they were free. The Haiyan Wu looked around the room and felt hope. Real hope. The kind that comes from seeing impossible things become real. A tall alien with blue skin and 6 arms approached him. Ambassador Haiyan Wu, she said in perfect English, my people wish to thank Earth for what you have done. We had been enslaved for 800 years. We thought freedom was just a dream our grandparents told us about. But you made it real. Haiyan Wu bowed respectfully. Earth did not free you. We simply showed you that the Dominion could be beaten. You freed yourselves. Your people rose up and took back your worlds. We just gave you hope. The alien smiled. Sometimes hope is the most powerful weapon of all. The meeting began. Representatives took their seats. Some were former rebels who had fought in secret for generations. Others were government officials who had pretended to serve the Dominion while secretly planning rebellion. A few were even former Dominion soldiers who had turned against their masters. Haiyan Wu stood at the center podium and spoke. 3 months ago, the Dominion came to Earth expecting an easy conquest. They thought we were primitives. They thought we would surrender or die. But Earth had been preparing for 50 years. We learned from the ancients. We built weapons in secret. We turned our solar system into a fortress. And when the Dominion attacked, we defeated them. Applause filled the chamber, but Haiyan Wu raised his hand for silence. But Earth did not win alone, he continued. We won because the Dominion had grown lazy. They had ruled for so long that they forgot others could be strong too. They conquered 847 worlds, but they never truly controlled them. Fear kept you obedient, but fear is fragile. When we showed the galaxy that the Dominion could lose, that fear shattered, and you all rose up. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing the galaxy. Red dots marked former Dominion worlds. But now those dots were turning blue, one after another. 30 worlds rebelled in the first week, Haiyan Wu said. 60 more in the second week. By the end of the first month, over 200 worlds had declared independence. The Dominion's empire collapsed not because Earth destroyed it, but because you all refused to be slaves anymore. More applause. Louder this time. These beings had lived under tyranny for centuries. Some for millennia. Now they were free, and they could barely believe it. Haiwan stood next to Haiyan Wu. She had come to represent Earth's military. The Dominion still has forces in many systems, she reported. Not all their fleets surrendered. Some commanders are trying to hold on to their conquered territories. But we are coordinating with local resistance movements to liberate those worlds. Earth's fleet is helping, but we are not leading these efforts. These are your worlds. You should be the ones to free them. A reptilian alien with green scales stood up. But what happens after liberation? The Dominion ruled for 3,000 years. Many of us do not remember how to govern ourselves. Our governments were destroyed generations ago. How do we rebuild? Yuna stepped forward. She had come to share Earth's technology. Earth will help, she said. We will share the ancient technology with all of you. Reality shields, quantum drives, clean energy systems, everything we learned. But we will not control you. We will not become the new Dominion. We offer these gifts freely, with no strings attached. A small alien with gray fur spoke up. Why? Why would you share such powerful technology? You could rule the galaxy if you wanted. Haiyan Wu answered. Because Earth knows what it is like to face extinction. In our history, we have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. We survived because we helped each other, because we understood that strength comes from unity, not domination. The Dominion ruled through fear. We want to build something better, a coalition of equals, free worlds working together, not because they are forced to, but because they choose to. The chamber fell silent as the aliens considered this. For many, the concept of voluntary cooperation was strange. The Dominion had taught them that the strong dominated the weak. That was the natural order. But Earth was offering something different. Ki-Wu entered the chamber and walked to the podium. The aliens gasped when they saw him. Many recognized him as the spy who had broadcast Earth's victory across the galaxy. He was a hero to the enslaved worlds. I lived among the Dominion for 20 years, Ti-Wu said. I watched them from the inside. I learned their secrets, and I discovered something important. The Dominion was not strong because of their weapons or their fleets. They were strong because the conquered peoples believed they were strong. The moment that belief broke, the empire collapsed. He looked around the chamber. Earth did not defeat the Dominion through force alone. We defeated them by showing that they could be beaten, by proving that resistance was possible. The smile Ambassador Haiyan Wu showed the Dominion was not arrogance. It was confidence. The confidence that comes from preparation, from unity, from hope. Taemin stepped forward next. My intelligence network has information about other threats in the galaxy, he said. The Dominion was not the only aggressive empire. There are others. Some are watching what happened here. Some are planning their own conquests. We must be ready. But not like the Dominion, Haiyan Wu added quickly. We will not build an empire. We will build a coalition. Any world that wants to join can join freely. Any world that wants to leave can leave freely. We defend each other, but we do not rule each other. The representatives discussed this for hours. Some were skeptical. Others were enthusiastic. But slowly, they began to agree. They voted to form the Free Worlds Coalition. Earth would be a founding member, but not the leader. Leadership would rotate among member worlds. Decisions would be made democratically. Military forces would defend, not conquer. As the meeting ended, a young alien approached Haiyan Wu. She looked nervous. Ambassador, she said quietly, I have a question. Of course, Haiyan Wu said with a kind smile. When the Dominion came to Earth, why did you smile? I have wondered about this for 3 months. What did that smile mean? Haiyan Wu thought carefully before answering. The smile meant many things, he finally said. It meant we were ready. It meant we were not afraid. But most importantly, it meant we had hope. For 50 years, we prepared for the Dominion's arrival. We knew they would come eventually. And we knew that when they did, we could not show fear. Because if we showed fear, we would believe our own fear. The smile was us telling ourselves that we could win. And we did. The young alien smiled too. Thank you, she said. My people needed to understand that. We need to learn to smile like that. To have confidence. To have hope. You will, Haiyan Wu assured her. It takes time, but you will. Back on Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. The celebrations had ended. The parties were over. But something had changed in humanity. They had faced the most powerful empire in the galaxy and won. They had shown that preparation and unity could defeat any threat. Sung Min returned to his home in Seoul. He was greeted as a hero, but he felt embarrassed by the attention. He had just been doing his job, flying his fighter, following orders. He had not expected to become famous. A child stopped him on the street. Are you really Sung Min the pilot? The child asked, eyes wide with admiration. Yes, Sung Min admitted. Were you scared when you fought the aliens? Sung Min knelt down to be at the child's level. I was terrified, he said honestly. Every pilot was scared. But we had trained for years. We had good ships. We had each other. And we had a mission. Fear makes you dangerous when you have prepared for it. We had 50 years to turn our fear into firepower. The child seemed to understand. So being brave does not mean not being scared. Exactly, Sung Min said. Being brave means being scared, but doing what must be done anyway. On the moon, Jisoo oversaw the construction of a memorial. It honored the ancient civilization that had left the warning on Mars. Without their technology and their wisdom, Earth would have fallen. The memorial was a simple stone with the ancient symbols carved into it. Translated, it read, We failed to resist. May you succeed where we could not. Below that, humans added their own message. We learned from you. We will remember you. We will not make your mistake. Thank you. Admiral Haewon addressed Earth's military forces. The war is over, she told them. But our mission continues. We must help other worlds liberate themselves. We must defend against new threats. We must never become what we defeated. The Dominion ruled through fear. We will lead through example. And in a small laboratory, Yuna continued her work. She was studying more ancient ruins that had been discovered on distant worlds. Each ruin contained new knowledge, new technology, new warnings. The ancients had left messages scattered across the galaxy, hoping someone would find them and learn from their mistakes. One message particularly interested Yuna. It suggested that humanity itself might have ancient origins. that perhaps humans were descended from the ancient civilization, survivors who fled to Earth millions of years ago and forgot their past. It was just a theory, but if true, it would explain why humans adapted so quickly to ancient technology. Una smiled as she worked. There were so many mysteries to explore, so many questions to answer. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. And now, thanks to the smile that challenged an empire, humanity would explore it as free beings, not as conquests. The Dominion had come to conquer Earth. Instead, they had awakened something they could not defeat. Hope. And hope, once awakened, cannot be destroyed.